You see, there are two kinds of law. This is a subject I love. I've been talking about this for years. There are two kinds of law on the earth that rule the whole world, but most people don't know that. Sell and make money. You are operating on this earth under something called UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. Because if all countries work on a different commercial code, then nobody could do business with anybody. You couldn't trust Japan to pay you. Japan couldn't trust America to pay them for the cars, because everybody has their own laws. Under the Caesars of Rome, they established under Caesar that all nations in the empire that do business, everybody plays on a level field. If you do business in Africa with China, you pay them. And if Africa does business with American companies, you pay them. You pay. Whatever it is you're doing business, you don't mess around. The most severe law in this world is called UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. It's the Bible of business on the earth. Uniform Commercial Code. Uniform Commercial Code is based directly on Vatican canon law, on the Roman canon law.
In Revelation 13, the author describes a beast that receives a deadly wound, but is later healed. The entire world marvels at this beast, and they worship both the beast and the dragon that gave it power. This beast will be both a religious and political power, speaking blasphemies and claiming to be God on earth. It will persecute and control people, leading them into captivity and killing them with the sword. Here are the 13 main points that help identify this beast. Combination of multiple pagan influences, blasphemous power given by Satan and pagan Rome, union of church and state, given a mouth or spokesperson or figurehead, reigns for 1260 literal years, worldwide power that persecutes God's saints, leads people into captivity, kills people with the sword, has a deadly wound, the wound will heal. The only entity that fits all 13 points is the papacy. It is a combination of universal pagan religions, and it is blasphemous, claiming to be God on earth and having the power to forgive sin. Pagan Rome gave it its power, seat, and great authority, making it a union of church and state. The papacy reigns for 1260 years and persecutes God's saints, leading them into captivity and killing them with the sword. The papacy claims to rule for God on earth and have the power to forgive sin, which is blasphemy. It was and still is a worldwide power with political and civil power, due to a letter from the Roman Emperor Justinian in 538 AD that acknowledged the Bishop of Rome as the head of all churches. The papacy mixed Christianity with pagan rituals and beliefs, making it a combination of multiple pagan influences. The papacy is the only entity that fits the description of the beast in Revelation 13.
They will slaughter 1/4 of the earth's population and produce a hell on earth that the minds of men cannot fully grasp. There are 4 things that have to happen before a new world order can come to power, according to Brock Chisholm of the United Nations. 1, there must be a destruction of the monetary system. I believe America's economic problems are not created by market conditions. I believe that they have been planned and orchestrated to devalue and to destroy the wealth of the dollar. It does not take a rocket scientist to understand the basic economic concept that excessive debt leads to bankruptcy. How many of you know that when you spend more than you make, you go broke? Now, people in Congress understood that. We wouldn't be going the direction we're going. You cannot spend your way into wealth. What one person receives without working, another person must work for without receiving. The government cannot give to anybody anything that the government does not first take away from someone else. And the government that can give you everything has the power to take from you everything.
We're living in a virtual reality. We're living in a totally controlled environment where very few people realize the extent to which we are all manipulated and controlled by unseen forces. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that our society is the most manipulated and controlled society in history because of the programming and conditioning we all undergo through both mass media and public education.
We're seeing a society that not only has a lot more people of lower IQ, but a lot fewer people of higher IQ. In other words, a dumbing down, a chemical dumbing down of society. So everyone's sort of mediocre. That leaves them dependent on government because they can't excel. We have these people of lower IQ who are totally dependent. Then we have this mass of people who are going to believe anything they're told because they can't really think clearly. And very few people of very high IQ who have good cognitive function who can figure this all out. And that's what they want. So, you can kind of piece it together as to why they are so insistent in spending so many hundreds of millions of dollars of propaganda money.
To answer this question, we must first find the United States in biblical prophecy. John the Apostle in the book of Revelation and Jeremiah and Isaiah talk about another end times nation in their writings, a nation called Babylon, or Mystery Babylon. The name is deeply symbolic. Ancient Babylon was a city made great by people who came from all parts of the ancient world, just like immigrants helped make the United States the world's only superpower. And because the prophets didn't know of the existence of the North American continent at the time of the visions, they called it Mystery Babylon. Some say biblical Babylon refers to ancient Iraq. But if that is true, why do the prophets see it as a nation surrounded by waters? O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, where all who had ships on the sea became rich through her wealth. While biblical Babylon has plentiful access to waters rich in resources, most of Iraq is a desert, and has only a narrow stretch of coastline. Why do the prophets talk about pollution when in ancient Iraq there could be no such thing? Thou hast destroyed thy land. I have polluted mine inheritance, and have given them into thine hand. Babylon mounts up to heaven, and descends above the heights of the clouds. These metaphors clearly reference a nation that has discovered flight. It is obvious that Babylon, or Mystery Babylon, can't be ancient Iraq. But the prophets have more to say about this end times nation. Babylon is hailed as a queen among nations, the lady of kingdoms. According to the prophets, Babylon reigneth over the kings of the earth. It is the praise of the entire earth, and an astonishment among the nations. It is a place of great riches, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. In fact, the prophets say clearly that should something happen to Babylon, all worldwide trade would stop. The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, because no one buys their cargoes anymore. It is the #1 military power, and it's called the hammer of the whole earth. Isaiah in verse 18, chapter 2, talks about how Babylon's beginning would be unique and awe-inspiring. America was created out of the former British colonies, a nation made out of many states just like the prophets foretold. Our ancestors were the first British colonists, and we speak their language. That's the reason why Jeremiah sees England like a mother to the U.S., according to verse 50, chapter 12. More so, the prophets talk about the lion that is on the sigil of the mother of Babylon. England uses the lion as its royal symbol. The last crew the prophets left us is incredibly accurate. The scripture often refers to Babylon as a woman. According to the book of Revelations, she sits atop water and has a golden cup in her right hand and a crown of 7 rays on her head. And the woman which thou sawest in that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. The United Nations, in theory, reigns over all the kings of the earth, and is situated in New York, the great city where you can see the Statue of Liberty. The statue is the most well-known landmark in the U.S., and the symbol of Babylon the prophets are referring to in their clues. So why, then, are they also calling it the Whore of Babylon? The sculptor of the Statue of Liberty was Auguste Bertoldi, a Mason belonging to the Great Masonic Lodge in Paris. Before beginning the Statue of Liberty project, Bertoldi was seeking commission to construct a giant statue of the goddess Ishtar. The Romans also adopted this fertility goddess, but they changed the name to Libertas in Latin, Liberty in English. Libertas is the mythological equivalent of Ishtar. Therefore, the Statue of Liberty is in fact a statue of Ishtar, the Babylonian goddess of fertility, love, and sex. According to the ancient Babylonian rituals, one could only be purified of sin after intercourse with a temple priest or priestess of Ishtar. In return for this salvation, a gift offering was needed. Ishtar was the patron mother of the temple priestesses and priests. She was the mother of what we would call today prostitution. This is why Ishtar was seen by early Christians as the Whore of Babylon. And that is why the Statue of Liberty, the symbol of America, is also called by the prophets the Whore of Babylon. Do you think it is just a coincidence that the U.S., the home of the greatest and most famous statue of Ishtar, provides 65% of pornographic movies and adult entertainment to the world? Is it just another coincidence that this is the country where sexual liberation originated and spread to the rest of the world? It's not. It's just like the scriptures foretold. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The U.S. today has the most powerful economy and military, controls worldwide commerce, is proud and arrogant, has the most developed Air Force and space program, and it is the envy of the world. It houses the Whore of Babylon. It reigns over the kings of the earth. And unfortunately for every living American, it is Mystery Babylon.